Diary.
Monday, assisted Dr. Synthesis in his monster lab. Once again the subject seemed to come alive for a while, but it didn't last. The doctor blames me for his failures. Tuesday, today the doctor surprised me with something new in the monster lab. He said, "Igor, guess what this is?" Before I had time to answer, he switched on his new ray gun, and the next thing I knew I was in the kitchen. Since then I haven't felt 100% myself. Wednesday, according to the doctor's great plan, he will create real monsters and then teleport them into the bedroom closets of every child in the world. I asked him what was so great about that, and he said if I needed to ask I wouldn't understand the answer even if he explained it. That's not the dumbest thing he's ever said, but it comes close. Thursday, I ran into the kid today. He seems to be doing okay considering how he got here. Dr. Synthesis teleported him into the monster lab. The doctor was trying to put a monster in a kid's closet, and instead he got a kid in the monster lab. Some great plan. Friday, the good Gahan knows there's a kid in the house by accident, so of course he wants to let him go. But the evil Gahan knows there's a kid in the house and he won't let him out. He's really beside himself on this one. And I thought I had problems. I'm glad I'm not Gahan. Saturday, I went grave robbing last night. Had a swell time. Got 2 good legs, 1 heart and some hardly used guts. I love my job.
A Journal of Experiments.
Volume 17. Entry 200. It is imperative that my work continue. They call me mad, but that is only because they fail to recognize my true genius. Here in my new laboratory in the cellar of 1313 Morning Lane I will achieve ultimate success and vindicate my name. Entry 211. Igor, my assistant, and I are deeply engrossed in my research. I do not find that the presence of the others interferes with my work in any way. I've imparted to Gahan the essence of my great plan and he agrees it is a work of true genius. I like him. No one who hates kids as much as he does can be all bad. Entry 218. I have finished calibrating the teleport array in the monster lab. A simple push of the button is all it will take to project matter instantaneously from one place to another. Reliability is still a problem, however. Much of the time it fails to activate altogether, and when it does, the destination is unpredictable. Entry 220. Attempt to project a human with the teleport array has not been 100% successful. Igor, my test subject, may have suffered some cranial damage. But with him, it's hard to tell. My experiments continue. Entry 222. I have gathered everything I need to create the ultimate monster. Correctly matched human body parts and my animating ray will combine to give my new creation real life. The ultimate monster will never fall apart. It will live. I have worked out the details in my experimentation journal. Entry 236. Another setback. A glitch in the teleportation ray has caused a kid to appear in the monster lab. I suspect he must have been in his bedroom closet just as the experiment was operating. If it isn't one thing, it's another.
A diary.
I was definitely better off dead. I never asked to be reanimated, but then, who does? My search for the missing scroll of 13 o'clock continues. It's been somewhat impeded by the curse that Gahan afflicted me with. Being liable to fall to pieces at any moment makes everything take twice as long as it should. But even with this inconvenience I've managed to find out a few things about this house. The scroll that Gahan wants so desperately is an ancient piece of magic which supposedly would allow the user to rule time and thereby the world. Little wonder why Gahan wants it. I've never met anyone more greedy, power-hungry or evil than he is. And yet, there are times when I could swear he was actually a nice guy. He told me just the other day he thought the curse on me was terrible and that he thinks there may be a cure somewhere in one of the old books in this house. I don't know if he's really sorry or not, but I hope the book exists. One of the things I've learned about this house is that it's always different. It's hard to explain, but it's like this: every day the 13 keys are someplace else. They're never always in the same place. And how you get them, that changes too. My observations show that flushing a dead rat, an egg, and a bugle caused bagpipes to pop out of the toilet yesterday. But today, I tried the same thing and I got garbage puke. I didn't know what to do with that, so I gave it to Herbert and Chauncey. Remarkably, they liked it. There's something very odd about this house. If it were possible for places to be good or evil, I'd say this place is evil if any place is. As the hours go by, the house gets darker and more brooding. The monsters are definitely more active and more dangerous. Evil seems to pervade everything here. I've seen even the nicest people in this house turn vicious and vengeful. Can you ever really trust anyone here? I've seen them all attack and curse innocent victims. And even the innocent victims sometimes become destructive and violent.
A diary.
I suppose I never should have drunk that formula I made. I never thought at the time that it could really divide me into two different personalities, but it obviously has. The last few years have been difficult. I spend all my time trying to correct the evil things my evil self does. When I found that he was locking people in the house with 13 magic locks, I created a magic spell of 13 keys. That way the locks could always be unlocked. But I was afraid that if I knew where the 13 keys were, then he would know where the 13 keys were. And if he knew where they were, he'd destroy them. So I cast a spell on the keys and had them scatter through the house so that no one, not even I, would know where they were. Now when unsuspecting humans come into the house, they at least have a chance of finding the keys and escaping. The scroll of 13 o'clock is a very powerful magic item that will allow whoever possesses it to eventually control time. This artifact, in the hands of my evil self, would certainly destroy the world as we know it. For this reason, I must find the scroll and, once it is mine, destroy it. Eureka! I've come across a reference to a formula which would eliminate my evil personality forever. If I could only find the book that has this formula in it, and then make the formula, I could truly be myself.
A diary.
I suppose I never should have drunk that formula I made. I never thought at the time that it could really divide me into two different personalities, but it obviously has. The last few years have been difficult. I spend all my time trying to stop my goody-two-shoes self from interfering with my plans. When I found that he was helping my victims escape the house by giving them the keys for the locks, I cast a spell on the keys which would scatter them through the house so that no one, not even I, would know where they were. Now when unsuspecting humans come into the house, I at least have a chance of keeping them as my victims. The scroll of 13 o'clock is a very powerful magic item that will allow whoever possesses it to eventually control time. If my goody-two-shoes self gets his hands on the scroll, he won't use it. What a waste of a perfectly good tool for ruling the world. For this reason I must find the scroll and once it is mine, rule the world. Eureka! I've come across a reference to a formula which would eliminate my goody-two-shoes personality forever. If I could only find the book that has that formula in it and then make the formula, I could truly be myself.
A journal of experiments.
Experiment number 529. Making the ultimate monster. Follow these steps exactly to bring the ultimate monster to life. Step 1. Obtain a bag of blood, clockwork saw heart and a brain and go to the monster lab. Step 2. The ultimate monster must be made of carefully selected, matching human pieces on the monster slab in the monster lab. Step 3. Insert the brain into the creature's head. Step 4. During assembly, add the bag of blood, clockwork saw heart to the monster's torso. Step 5. When all the parts are assembled, with the bag of blood, clockwork saw heart and the brain in place, Activate the animate array. Repeat if necessary. Step 6, cry Eureka. Step 7, accept the Nobel Prize and laugh at anybody who ever made fun of you.
A spell book.
To remove ye curse of evil, first thou must be pure of heart. Then thou must attain a looking glass and a crystal ball. Be ye warned against the perils of these things, for they be ye playthings of the ghoulish. When thou hast attained of these items, then bring them unto ye afflicted one. Give ye afflicted also this tome, and by its power be ye curse of evil lifted.
A diary.
The carpet bag is convenient. I don't know how I'd get along without it. It defies explanation, the way most of this house does, but I don't care how it works as long as it does. It's never too full. I can always put something else in. Sometimes it doesn't open, but I've learned that means it's empty. At first I found it confusing that I could put some things into the bag but not everything. I think that some things like to stay in the room they belong in. I've found I can give stuff to the people in this house. If I give them things, they give me things, and I never know when one of them might give me a key. I've been attacked by monsters. Sometimes very strange things happen, like I can't pick anything up. Or I'll move to go right and wind up going left, or I'll walk through a doorway and wind up not in the room I was headed for, but a completely different room. None of these effects last very long, but they are annoying. So far I've collected 8 keys and it's only just getting dark. I'll have to be more careful. But I think I can make it out of here as long as I keep using what I have to try to get the keys I want. I wish me good luck.
A formula.
Formula 428. Step 1, empty the bathroom sink. Step 2, be certain to have an empty flask on hand. Step 3, mix together the following substances in the sink. Step 4, add a quantity of hot or cold water. Step 5, bring the empty flask to the sink to fill it with the contents. Step 6, handle this formula with care. It is corrosive, toxic, mutagenic, combustible, caustic, adhesive, dilatant, carcinogenic, and smells like your brother's dirty socks.
A formula.
Formula 429. Step 1, empty the bathroom sink. Step 2, be certain to have an empty flask on hand. Step 3, mix together the following substances in the sink. Step 4, add a quantity of hot or cold water. Step 5, bring the empty flask to the sink to fill it with the contents. Step 6, handle this formula with care. It is corrosive, toxic, mutagenic, combustible, caustic, adhesive, thixotropic, carcinogenic, and harmful to the ozone layer.
A diary.
Creating the spell of 13 o'clock has proven to be a very tiring project. Of course, I should expect no less for a spell so powerful that it will allow me to control time itself. It's well worth it, of course. With the ability to control time, I will be the most powerful person alive. The thought of the great works I could perform keeps me going. Imagine being able to run time backward and undo the mistakes of the past, to warn people of disasters long before they happen, and even to skip Monday every week. The main difficulty seems to be the enormous amount of magical energy needed to make the spell work. At first I thought that this strange house alone would be the answer. It's filled with magical energy, especially at night. It turns out it draws that energy from the people inside it. The only way to get power from the house is to help the house take it from other people. This isn't a very nice thing to do, but it's worth it in the end. If I only take a little bit from each visitor, it won't harm anyone. Of course, to get enough visitors I may have to open a bed and breakfast. As a way of relaxing from more important work, And in the hope of improving my own stamina a little, I've been doing some simple chemistry. There are many interesting substances that can be created merely by mixing fluid and semi-fluid substances in an ordinary bathroom sink. I've been experimenting with various mixtures with quite extraordinary results. Who knows what fine discoveries are waiting to be made? If I apply myself, perhaps I might discover a new formula that might help me in my work. The procedure is as follows: I bring liquid or easily mixable ingredients to the bathroom sink, which is a convenient vessel. I add them one at a time. When I want to start over, I drain the sink. If I want to keep my mixture, I bring an empty flask to the sink and fill it up. The ingredients that work the best so far are water, hot or cold, from the sink faucet, blood, poison, slime, toxic waste, bad smells, and bloody pulp. Just this morning I mixed up a formula that may be just what I need. Perhaps tomorrow I'll test it out.
An activity book.
Gahan's Rainy Day Indoor Activity Book. Escaping the haunted house isn't important. Who cares if you get trapped here forever? Don't worry about finding the 13 keys. Instead, pass the time until 13 o'clock with these fun activities. 1. Shark attack. Turn the fish into a monster shark. Feed the fish lots of body parts, they don't have to be all different, and don't forget to feed him some toxic waste. Other things contaminate the tank too, they mutate the fish. A monster shark can only grow in a contaminated tank. He'll grow bigger in stages and finally turn into a black attacking monster shark. It's dangerous. Have fun. 2. The Compactor Challenge. How many things can you find to crush in the compactor? Add them up as you go along and don't forget to include the characters. The current high scorer is Dr. Synthesis with 15. 3. Pop Quiz. How much do you know about the haunted house? Find the answers to these questions. What's the address of the haunted house? How did the kid get there? What is Formula 429 and what does it do? How many different people and things in the haunted house can give you a key? You'll need to play a lot of games to find them all. There are a lot more than 13. What does the scroll of 13 o'clock do? How do you open an egg in the kitchen without destroying whatever's inside it? How do you know how to make the ultimate monster? Can you tell the good Gahan and the evil Gahan apart? Before he does something nice or something mean to you? This one's hard, but you can do it if you keep your eyes and ears open. There are 50 things you can put into your bag. Besides keys, can you name them all? What's Igor's full name? What's the kid's name? What's the two-headed monster's name? Hint, he has 2 names, one for each head. Who lives in the violin case? 4. Destructo. What would happen if you broke everything you could in the haunted house? What would happen if you blew up everybody, over and over again in the same game? Or better yet, crushed them in the compactor so that they were out of the game. And you blew up the toilet, and the stew pot, and the garbage can, and the drac in the box, and everything else? And you smashed the mirror and the bust, and the music room window? And you destroyed the bird and the fish and drove the gorilla out of his cage? What would happen then? Could you still find the 13 keys? Or would the monsters get you first? 5. Hatch a bird. If you have an egg and an empty bird cage in the menagerie, you can hatch a new bird. To get an egg, feed the bird until he lays one, or look for one around the house. To get an empty bird cage, you'll just have to figure out how to get rid of the bird that's in there. It takes a long time for the egg to hatch, so do other things while you're waiting. After a while the egg will hatch and you'll find a new bird in the cage. Your new bird will be just as obnoxious as the old one. 6. The Haunted House Top 20 Hit Parade. There are 20 different records in the haunted house. Can you find them all in one game? Can you stand to play them all? Hint, you can only play one record at a time. When you find a record, you have to take it to the record player or get rid of it before you can find another record. Try to find all the books and all the movies too. There are 15 movies and enough books to fill the shelf. 7. Monster Mash. Watch the monsters dance. The basement has a monster lab in it. You can take monster pieces out of the drawers and make monsters with them. If you want to see a monster dance, you should build the monster out of matching pieces. If you use only the pieces that belong to a monster to build the monster, like making the wolf men out of wolf pieces, then when you use the animator ray on the monster it will dance. The hardest part about building complete monsters is finding the right eyes. Keep trying until you find the eyes that fit. It may help if you leave the eyes for last. Listen to Igor. He'll give you advice on how to build a complete monster. Each monster has its own dancing style. Which one is your favorite? 8. Play hangman in the game room. The hangman wants you to join in the fun and play his game. Click on the hanging rope in the game room to start the game. If you lose the game, the hangman hangs, but that's his job and he's always ready to try again. I'll give you a hint about the words you're trying to guess. They all have something to do with the haunted house. Some of them are words you think of when you think about ghost stories and stuff. Some of the words are the names of items in the haunted house. Good luck. And remember, if you win the game you could get an item as a prize. 9. Become an art critic. Look through the collection of cartoons in the magic picture frame in the gallery. Practice saying things like "This is a fine example of line control and space sensitivity, but frankly I preferred his pre-impressionistic period, or my 6-year-old can draw ickier things than that." 10. Miniature flying saucers. Quit the game and take the disc out of the CD-ROM drive. It's shaped just like a little flying saucer, perfect for games of catch, target landings, or starting your own alien invasion.
A cookbook.
Cheese. Making cheese takes practice, but it's worth it. The quality of the cheese depends mainly upon the freshness of the ingredients. To a large stew pot, add an ingredient and stir well for best results. Increase the heat and gently add one ingredient to the pot. As the mixture softens, prepare your ingredient by shaking well. Add it to the pot. Quickly mix in 1 jar of ingredients and your cheese will be ready. If you put in good stuff, your cheese will be nice and stinky. It will make a good snack for kids, or you can bake it into a delicious pie. Toxic waste. You don't need a big ugly factory or a power plant to make toxic waste. You can mix up a batch right in your own kitchen. All you need is a big stew pot and a few ingredients. Start making toxic waste by adding 1 ingredient to the pot. Then drop in an ingredient and let it melt down for a while. A few seconds are all it takes. Next, add an ingredient. By now the delicious aroma should be drifting through your kitchen, maybe even through your whole neighborhood. The final step is to add just 1 jar of ingredients to keep the mixture from breaking down and make sure it lasts a long time. When you're done with your toxic waste, get rid of it by giving it to a mad scientist or a 2-headed mutant. How to get ahead. This is a recipe for success. If you follow the instructions carefully, you'll get ahead in no time. To get ahead, use a big stew pot over low heat. Add the following ingredients one at a time. Then increase the heat to high. Warning. Don't leave the pot unattended. Open a jar of ingredients and add to the contents of the pot. Of course, getting ahead is one thing. Keeping ahead is something else. Be sure to keep your own head at all times. Scottish Delight. Because of its piercing flavor, this delicacy is an acquired taste for some, but it is easy to make. Use only 1 of each ingredient. To make Scottish Delight, use a large stew pot over medium heat. Add an ingredient. Also throw in an ingredient. Then add an ingredient. Be sure to add the ingredients in the order listed. After all these ingredients are well stewed, add a jar of ingredients to improve the tone. That's all. It'll be ready in no time, and it's just right for entertaining those unexpected guests. Caterpillar. Most people don't know how easy it is to make new life forms in the kitchen. You can make a real caterpillar using only 1 pot and a few simple ingredients. Kids, make sure you get your parents to help you. To make a caterpillar, start with an ingredient. The fresh variety is best, but you can use the dried up kind if you have to. Drop it into a big stew pot and turn the heat up to medium. Don't turn the heat up high. It'll get too hot. Drop in an ingredient. It's okay if it makes a big messy splash. Let the pot bubble for a few minutes. Hold your nose and add an ingredient. Find a jar of ingredients and add it to the pot. You probably have one somewhere in the house. If you did it right, your caterpillar will crawl right out of the pot. Catch it and put it into a bag. Use it to feed your pet bird, or scare your friends.
A diary.
Dear Diary, this evening I had a wonderful time in the basement.
It's always been my favorite part of the house. I enjoy trying out new things. I think I'm more creative now than I was while I was alive. But I don't want to forget the things I've discovered, so I thought I'd rush right back to you, dear diary, and write it all out. All three of the ghoulish devices in the room behind the arched door are fun. The holding bars are close to the door. They work when you click on the red lever next to them. The compactor crushes on things when you click on its red light. And you can trap someone inside the Iron Maiden by closing the lid on them. Getting someone to step into these devices isn't too hard. All you have to do is place an item that you know someone likes into the device. For example, this evening guy used a vacuum tube to trap Dr. Synthesis. You know how the evil doctor is always going on about his vacuum tubes. Well, I guessed he'd appear, and he did. I've noticed that sometimes when I leave an item in one of the devices, and I'm sure that the item will attract someone, it doesn't. This is very disappointing. I think it has something to do with how active the house is. If there are lots of ghosts in the foyer pictures, I have a better chance of attracting anyone I want into the basement. If the house is too inactive, I fix that by playing with things in the house. I play records. I wake up the gorilla every time I go into the room and never put him to sleep. I zap the bird. I poke at the rocking horse. I make noise and bother things. That usually makes the house more active. When someone is trapped in the holding bars, I can use several different things on them. These 8 things always seem to work: a pie, a mallet, a mirror, an army knife, a bad smell, bagpipes, a dart, a caterpillar, and an electric eel. I can't wait to try everything on everybody. I'm going to go down and try some more right now. Good night, dear diary, Contessa Vena Cava.
An encyclopedia.
Herbert and Chauncey's Moldy Media Encyclopedia Volume 1. We eat so many books, we know almost everything. So we decided to write our own encyclopedia. We use this moldy old book as our media. Anatomy. Anatomy is the study of the parts of the body. Studying parts of the body is one of our hobbies. So is eating them. With us, Dr. Synthesis, Igor, and the vampiress around, there are always plenty of body parts in the haunted house. Look for hands, guts, heads, hearts, brains, and eyeballs. Biology. Biology is the study of living things. The haunted house has a lot of living things in it. But we're not sure you would want to study them. Not only are there people and creatures and monsters in all the rooms, but some of the items you can carry in your bag are living things. There's a caterpillar, a fish in a bowl, a snake, a teddy bear, a plate of worms, a pig, an electric eel, a blob creature, and a stunned bat. Even the heart is alive, you can tell because it's still beating. Containers. A container is something that can hold something else inside it. Containers come in many shapes and sizes. The can and the egg are containers. You may be surprised at how many things have other things inside. The pig, the roast bird, the teddy bear, the dead fish, the blob creature, the bagpipes, the pie, and even the violin are containers. You never know what you'll find in containers. Gahan. Gahan is a strange person who lives in the haunted house. Sometimes he's nice and sometimes he's nasty. When he's being really nasty, he takes energy from the visitors who get trapped here. We don't know how to tell when he's going to be mean. Did you ever notice that sometimes his feet point to the left and sometimes his feet point to the right? We think that has something to do with it, but there has to be more to it than just that. Ghosts. The haunted house is full of ghosts. There are some ghosts you can't see, like the ones that make the items in the house move to different places while you're not looking. Some of us even think Gahan is a ghost. Making noise and playing with things in the haunted house wakes up more ghosts. The more ghosts you see in the pictures in the foyer, the more strange things will happen. Icky things. Icky things are our favorite things. Icky things are things that make people, especially grown-ups, say yuck, that's horrible. Get away from that. What things in the haunted house are icky? There are so many of them. Look for garbage can puke, the plate of worms, the bad smell, the bag of blood, the caterpillar, the eyeball, the radioactive waste, the snake, the guts, the green slime, the toxic waste, the mashed pulp and a dead rat. Enjoy.
An encyclopedia.
Herbert and Chauncey's Multimedia Encyclopedia Volume 2. Magic. Some people don't believe in magic. We don't believe in it ourselves. Some people also believe in two-headed monsters, can you imagine? But the vampiress told us that some of the things in the house are magical items. The mirror, the scroll, and the crystal ball are magical. So is the vacuum tube, believe it or not. And, of course, the bag of blood is magical. It figures the vampiress would think of that. Monsters. We're experts on monsters. Most people call us a monster just because we have two heads. But the house is full of worse monsters than us. At least we talk to people before we eat them. The real monsters don't even do that. Monsters appear more when the haunted house is angry. So if you do things that make the house angry, like destroy things, you'll meet more monsters. Get away from them, if you can. Music. There are many ways to make music. You can find all sorts of different musical instruments in the haunted house. There's an organ, a trumpet, and a record player in the music room. Those are too big to carry around. If you need a musical item you can put into your bag, look for a violin, a music box, a bugle, a record, or a bagpipe. The head is a musical instrument too, because heads can sing. Smell. Sense of smell lets the nose enjoy the pleasant smell of flowers, lemons, lawns and fine food. The nose also brings us all the icky, nasty smells in the world. Right here in the haunted house we have dead fish, cheese, guts, garbage can puke, and a dead rat. All of these are very smelly items. Plus, there's a bad smell that just drifts around all by itself. Without the sense of smell, the world would be a much less interesting place. Toys. Every kid likes toys. Even grown-ups like toys. Unless they're the dull kind of grown-ups, that is. Toys are things like a ball, a bugle, a movie film, a music box, a record, a teddy bear, and a model car. The clockworks can be a fun toy too. Our favorite toy is a hand. Okay, so it's not your usual toy, but think how many things you can do with one. Toxic substances. Toxic substances are chemicals that are harmful to people or to the environment. The haunted house has plenty of toxic substances around. Since we're monsters, and monsters are also harmful to people, we don't mind toxic substances in our house. The poison, the toxic waste, the chemistry flask, the green slime and the radioactive drum all contain chemicals. Be careful how you use them.
My name is Betty Rush. I hope that one day they'll find this and know what happened to me. The clock just struck 12 and I'm doomed. All this time and I've only obtained 9 keys. I'll never have enough time to get the other 4. I tried doing sensible things to obtain the keys and sometimes that worked. Then I started trying crazy things to get the keys. I gave things to a talking bust and trapped a weird creature in the Iron Maiden. I made slime pie and fed it to a disgusting bird. I gave anything I could get my hands on, to anybody who would take it, hoping they'd give me a key. And that still wasn't enough. The whole house is crazy. I think I'm crazy. And it's just like he said. I'm never getting out of here. My name is Bet.
Springfield Clarion. 1950. Igor escapes. Page 3. Massive destruction. Freak storm threatens community. Yesterday's freak storm destroyed 2 barns in the Morning Hill area and blew down dozens of trees. The storm struck without warning out of a clear blue noontime sky. Damage was worst on the top of Morning Hill. Only one of the partially completed homes in the new housing development was left standing. Witnesses say that strange green clouds streamed toward the hill and encircled it seconds before the storm hit. Springfield Clarion. Tuesday, December 1, 1993. Gale force winds, 35 degrees. Unlucky strike. No end to storms in sight. For the second year in a row, local weather has been wild and unpredictable. The National Weather Service is sending a team here to investigate the unusual weather this county has been experiencing. As yet there has been no consistent explanation for the frequent thunderstorms, ferocious winds and dark skies. Speculation includes the possibility of an unusual dip in the jet stream and possible recurring thermal inversions. Springfield Clarion. Wednesday, April 20, 1994. Sunny to cloudy. 78 degrees. Mayor confused. Outraged citizens demand action. Outraged citizens demanded more action from City Hall yesterday after the west end of town lost power again. The power was out for almost 13 hours before being restored. City officials are at a loss to explain what's causing the blackouts. One electrical engineer speculated that they might be caused by heavy power demands made by unusual electronic equipment. But since there is no heavy industry on Morning Hill, scene of the most frequent blackouts, that hypothesis seems unlikely. Springfield Clarion. Friday the 13th. Storms expected. Byron Price. Child mysteriously disappears. Police are baffled by the mysterious disappearance of 5-year-old Byron Price from his home on Morning Lane. Mrs. Price claims she last saw her son alone in his second-story bedroom. I checked his bedroom about 8 o'clock to see if he was asleep yet because I thought the awful thunder and lightning would scare him and he was gone. Just gone. The police have no leads. Continued on page 3.
Weekly Weird News. Special Report. October 31st. Two-headed monster. Monster stalks quiet suburban community. Experts are baffled. A two-headed monster was sighted in the residential area known as Morning Hill. Although the area is known for reports of strange unexplained phenomena, this is the first report of a two-headed monster. Terrified residents were found cowering in basements and some were incoherent. The investigation will continue as police search for the monster. Continues on page 2.
Journal of Science. April 1994. Fraud and Quackery. The outrageous claims of Dr. Synthesis. It is not often that this journal stoops to recognizing unscientific methods or treatments. There is no point in giving publicity to a quack. But there comes a time, when lies which damage the scientific community, need to be refuted. Dr. Synthesis is a dangerous nut. His half-baked theories on bringing the dead back to life degrade the integrity of real science and real scientists. One can only hope that his disappearance from the scientific scene is permanent. Wherever he's holed up, we hope he stays there.
Missing child. Byron Price. Age, 5. Last seen, his bedroom.
Wanted. Dr. Synthesis. Grave robbery, unlicensed handling of dangerous materials, fraud and malpractice.
Wanted. Igor. For grave robbery and grand larceny.
Edmund Scientific. 23rd of August, 1991. 1,500 milliliter glass flasks. 22 circuit boards. 27 vacuum tubes. Delivered. Receipt of sale.
Receipt. Philadelphia Zoo. Delivered, 400 pounds all-purpose kibble. Springfield. Deed. The Registrar of Deeds for the town of Springfield verifies that the house at 1313 Morning Lane belongs to Gahan Wilson. Signed. Gahan Wilson.
New York. NMA. The Medical Board of the State of New York hereby certifies that Dr. Synthesis is licensed to practice medicine in the state of New York.
Certificate of Award. Halloween Costume Ball. Herbert Chauncey. Two-Headed Monster. First prize.
Homedale Beautiful Baby Contest. First prize. Igor Stravinsky.
Gahan. Dr. Synthesis. Herbert and Chauncey. Contessa Vena Cava. Byron Price. Frankenstein. Igor. Noreen Ricketts.